Good afternoon. My name is Les Kenstead. I'm the Affordable Housing Manager for the City of Sioux Falls, and I want to thank all of you for coming out today on this blustery, cold day. I saw on the weather at noon we're getting 55-mile-an-hour gusts, so I'll try not to follow that and keep the gusts to a minimum. So, last year when we had a press conference similar to this to announce some of the things that our partner Mark Lossing and a number of other folks here in the room participated in, we talked about partnership, and we talked about the team that it takes to make these things pull together and to become a reality. I'm going to say the same thing again this year. This kind of thing that we're talking about today, some $18 million worth of affordable housing doesn't happen without a lot of partnerships going on. I was visiting with Darren Ketchum this morning, my boss, and we started talking a little bit about it, and some of the things that we thought were important to bring about or bring up this morning were, the partnerships, the things we do. What we're doing by these projects and what you see before in the work of all the people who you're going to be speaking with here as we go is two kinds of partnerships. Number one, it's a public-private partnership. We talk a lot about that. There's been a lot of talk about that with the parking ramp and the public-private partnership and the things that go. It takes a team to do it, and in this case, the private sector is teaming up with the public sector in a way that people don't often think of. And right now in Congress, they're talking about passing of the tax bill. Part of that tax bill continues a program called low-income housing tax credits. And that's the partnership that you see here coming into fruition right here in Sioux Falls, is that type of a partnership where private corporations will invest money in affordable housing and receive tax credits for that kind of an investment. So it's a partnership between private business and the public sector, and then it's also an example of government collaboration and where we work together to get things done. You have the federal government with the programs that we operate, Mark operates. You have state government, which is illustrated by Mark and his presence here today in their role, very significant role in what we do. And then the local level here at the city level. So it takes a team, it takes a partnership or a series of partnerships to make it happen. What we're basically doing when you look at, for example, this year, about $18 million worth of investment on the local level. We're putting in right around $3 million, and you can see the kind of playoffs that we've got when you get 13 to 14 million of federal and state dollars, and then the local dollars that we're talking about here. So it's a real good return on the investment that the city makes in it. I want to thank the mayor and the council for the programs and the support that they've given us, the dollars that they've appropriated. And then lastly, a little bit of the history, and I don't have the data from 5 and 6 years back, although I think Mark might have some of that on his fingertips. But in 2016, between the state and the city and the federal government, we put $13.8 million into affordable housing in Sioux Falls. This year, it's between $17 and $18 million. So when you look back over the last 2 years alone, it's almost $31 million worth of total investment in affordable housing right here in Sioux Falls. So those are some of the more, I think, salient or relevant or important facts to bring about. So we've got a lot of folks to talk with you today, so I'll keep my comments to what I've already said. And I'd like to introduce Mark Lossing. Mark is the Executive Director of the South Dakota Housing Development Authority, and one of the very major partners that we have in doing this. So, how are you doing?
Thanks, Les. Thank you, Les. Last month, the SDHDA Board of Commissioners awarded $9 million in Housing Tax Credit, Home Housing Trust Fund, and Housing Opportunity Fund programs for housing activities across South Dakota. The 21 projects funded will provide 249 newly constructed multifamily units, 4 single-family homes, 30 rehabilitated multifamily units. It'll provide assistance with homeless prevention. It'll provide homeowner rehabilitation and home buyer down payment and closing cost assistance. The projects funded will result in over $33 million in total development costs. and over half of that will go in here in the Sioux Falls area. One of the programs that's worked very well in the Sioux Falls area is the Housing Tax Credit Program. The program has been the most successful affordable housing program in U.S. history. Since the inception of the program in 1987, in the Sioux Falls area alone, there have been 114 tax credit projects, which have created 4,300 affordable rental units with project costs in excess of $370 million. Each dollar invested in affordable housing infrastructure boosts local economies and creates public-private partnerships that lift residents' earnings and local tax revenue, as well as support job creation and retention. When you build 100 affordable rental homes, it generates $11.7 million in local income, $2.2 million in taxes and other income for local governments, and it creates 161 local jobs. An investment in affordable housing infrastructure is a direct investment in America's families. Increasing and preserving affordable housing, especially in areas connected to good schools, well-paying jobs, health care, and transportation, helps families climb the economic ladder. Research shows that increasing access to affordable housing is the most cost-effective way for reducing childhood poverty in the United States. Putting together these affordable housing projects is a very difficult task. It takes several sources of funding, and as Les mentioned, it takes great partnerships to make the deals come together and be successful. Fortunately, we have great partners here in South Dakota, and many of them are here today, and you're going to hear from them next. We look forward to working with them. We look forward to working with those partners in the projects that were awarded last month, and we look forward on much-needed future affordable housing in South Dakota in the future. Thank you.
The next one of our partners that will be talking today is Dan Costello, the president of Costello Companies. And as each of them come up, I'll show you the projects that they're involved in. This happens to be the Majestic Ridge project that Dan and his company are building. So Dan, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thanks. Majestic View will be 60 units, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Out of that 60, 7 are market rate units, and the remaining 53 are affordable. 33 of the 53 will be affordable to folks at or below 50% of the median income level. We couldn't provide the 33 units at the lower income levels if it wasn't for the support we've received from the Housing Authority. And one thing I can say on behalf of myself and the others is, without this help from the city, we'd be building less units between all of us, and we would have to be at higher income limits. So what the support from the city is doing is just phenomenal to reach out and help more of a broad-based group of residents who need affordable housing.
Thank you, Dan. The next one of the projects that we're going to be talking about is, I got to get my bearings here, the Cleveland Center project. Erica Beck from Lloyd Companies will be making a few comments, so thanks. Oh, and another.
And me too.
Hi, Erica. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Hi, Erica Beck from Lloyd Companies. Les mentioned the importance of partnerships earlier, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention another partnership that we haven't necessarily talked about yet today, and that's the partnership that our company experiences oftentimes with the nonprofit organizations in our community. We are fortunate enough to be able to work with many different nonprofits in our community that provide affordable housing, and Eric Tucker from the YMCA is a representative of one of those nonprofits. Cleveland Center, as you can see on the far left, will be one of the projects that you'll see being constructed next spring, and that was recently awarded, as Mark said, in November by the South Dakota Housing and Development Authority. It will include 39 units, again, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and the rents will range from a 1 bedroom starting at $430 per month to a 3 bedroom starting at $670 per month. It's a $4.5 million investment into the community, and we're just really excited to be able to partner with not only Eric, South Dakota Housing, but also Les and his team as well. Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about the project?
Sure. Hi, thank you. Talk real quickly, the YMCA actually started out as an organization that housed folks that had needs for either transitional housing or permanent housing. And we've been doing that in Sioux Falls since 1919. And as many of you know, we partnered with Lloyd Properties a few years ago to develop the Y housing area downtown. And that's given over 50 families access to the YMCA programs, after-school care, and so many things that they need to enrich their own lives. We're very excited about this second project. Our intention with this is to also provide a lot of YMCA services for families, including an after-school program downtown. And we just want to thank the city and the state for all the support, and in particular Lloyd Companies for the partnership. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
The next project that we'll be talking about and having another speaker is the Glory House project. Something a little bit different. Dave Johnson from Glory House is here, and something a little bit different than your normal run-of-the-mill housing project, but it's providing housing, and I'll let Dave give you the details.
Thank you, Les. Good afternoon. Very excited to partner with both the state, the city, Lloyd's Companies, and a slew of other folks as we move toward trying to provide long-term affordable housing for offenders that are returning to our communities. We know that if we can provide some wraparound services, such as the things that we already do at Glory House, and we have been doing for the last 50 years, that we can help these folks get back on their feet, get back with their families, provide employees to our employers, and simply really make a difference in people's lives. So it will be 25 units. It'll be efficiency apartments, and it's just the first step among many to try to provide housing for this special group of clients. So we're excited. We think it's a real opportunity. It's a way to celebrate 50 years in the community, but without Lloyd's, the city, the state, and everybody else involved, we couldn't do it. So we appreciate being here.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Last and certainly not least, we have had a long-standing partnership with Affordable Housing Solutions and the Sioux Falls Housing and Redevelopment Commission. And Carl Fulmer, the executive director of those two organizations, is here. Carl, do you want to tell them a little bit about Sherwood Place?
Thank you, Les. First of all, I want to thank both the State Housing Authority and the city for really supporting affordable housing solutions in the city's neighborhood revitalization program. The State Housing Authority has really been instrumental in providing down payment assistance to many of our home buyers who are low income, under 80% of median. Many of them are first-time home buyers, and so that down payment assistance is instrumental. We're closing on our 8th house for this year, 2017, this Friday. Certainly the city, we work closely with community development. Brent Tucker's here. We go through a lot of our planning and architectural drawings with Brent. And Sherwood Place is kind of an extension of what we've been doing. Sherwood Place is kind of part of the neighborhood revitalization. We have $240,000 in down payment assistance that's been awarded by the State Housing Authority. The city's over $2.4 million in construction subsidies. It'll be 12 townhome or twin home triplex units located in the city. And we certainly look forward to increasing our role with the city's community development department in increasing the ownership housing stock within the city as part of the neighborhood revitalization program. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.